Hello, Kevin Tharp here. Today we're going to continue on with the case study, and in this particular video we are going to be adding the HTML content structure. So that's just fancy words for saying that we're going to start adding some basic content in here, but we're going to do it using semantic markup so that the tools that we use, the elements that we use, have meaning in the use of their tags. So that, for instance, when we use the header tag, that was indicating a header. The nav element is indicating the navigation. So we're going to continue with that, only we're going to start adding actual content instead of just developing the boxes that the content are going to go into. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to decide on something to go into the header, and I happen to be using Dreamweaver CS6 here. You're going to have a similar ability in any enterprise level web development software, where you should be able to work in either a design view or a code view, or if you're just coding, then this window over here is going to be more relevant to you than the other one. So what we're going to do is we're going to enter some content, and let's just get started on it and make our way through. So I'm going to call this the community garden. That's going to be my my heading level 1. It's the most important thing that's in there. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to give that the property of heading level 1. And you'll notice that it changes the visual here, and the tags H1, the opening H1 tag and the closing tag go around the community garden. That makes that an H1. Now the other thing that I want to do is I want to add some kind of a logo to this. So let's do that next. So now I've pulled up the files tab in Dreamweaver so that you can see where I'm at with this, and these are not related. So I've got this case studies here, and inside it the images folder and the projects folder that I created in the previous demonstration. And inside the images now, I have gone ahead, and outside of this video, I've gone ahead and added this logo called communitygardenlogo.png. You will need to look to where the instructor directs you in order to find that image, and you need to add it to your site inside the images folder there. So now that we have that there, we need to add that to this website. So if you're using Dreamweaver, this is really easy. You simply grab it and you put it where you want it to be. And it wants me to save the path, but we'll get to that in a minute. So whenever you're doing websites, you need to give an image alternate text. This is text that can be seen by screen readers, and anytime the images can't come up. And so I'm just going to go, and I don't need a long description because there's not important information inside of that picture that my users would need to be able to have access to that information if they were not able to see the image. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and you'll notice that it does the same thing that you would have to do if you are doing the coding. Now here it says file : / / that, again, if you recall, is pointing to a location on my local server. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to it's time for me to save this document so that you can understand what's going on here better. So I'm going to go ahead and save this document, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it inside this case studies folder. This is my home page, so I'm going to call it index.html with the lowercase I because of the server settings that we're using for this particular class, and I've got it at the root level of the case studies. So you choose save, and you will notice that that file has now come into place in index.html. The reason that that's important to look at right now is that you'll notice that it changes this path to it's still a relative path from where the file is saved. So from this index.html page, it goes to images, which is at the same level inside this case studies folder, and then it goes to communitygardenlogo.png. So it goes from this path to this to this. Now, if it were in this one, it would have a totally different code because it would have to go up to the root and then down to images. And we're not doing that in here because we're using the case studies as an isolated website for this presentation. Now, another thing that you're going to need to notice is that where did I end up putting this thing? I put it before the words "the community garden," but you notice that it's still sitting inside this H1 tag. So that is part of the heading level 1, which means that I can only work with these things together as a group within that H1. So whatever I do to that H1 is going to happen to both. So just for the sake of separating those two things out, I'm going to actually move that outside, and I'm actually moving the H1 tag so that the only thing that is the H1 is the text and the images beside it. Now you notice that when I did that, it's moving the community garden down below, because when I took it out of this block level element, it was in that block level element before, and so everything was working on the same block. When I took it out, that image is itself a block level element, and so it put it on its own line, and then it put this H1 on its own line, and I'm just going to move that down that is clean coding for ease of use of humans. It's not necessary, but it makes it a lot easier if you do your coding in a way that is clean like that. Some people would say that you shouldn't put in extra spaces and all, but the way that memory and bandwidth has gone to, that's really not an issue anymore. So that leaves us with the next step, which is we've got the header content, we've got the logo and the community garden. Notice that they're just going down the side because no presentation has been applied to that. Now I want to add the nav element, or inside the nav element, what I want to do is I want to replace that text there, and I'm going to put in a unordered list of about the garden, projects, and join. Now I had copied and pasted that, and I see those extra spaces there. I'm taking those out just to keep my code clean. I cut and paste that from the directions that I had put. If I wanted to do that, obviously I could have coded it, or I could have typed these all independently and set them as a unordered list. Now, how do you do that? This, again, I'm going to demonstrate the way that's done in Dreamweaver. I can take that unordered list off. So if I had been put it in place as paragraphs, that's the way that it would have natively gone in there. But then when I click on this unordered list, you notice it's got the UL, which means unordered list, and then the LI, and there's a series of those, and those mean list items. So this UL unordered list contains the 3 list items. Each of the list items contains a opening and a closing list item tag, and so that everything's coming about. So now we have our navigation there. For now, we're just going to leave it as text, and that closes out our navigation, because if you recall, what we are trying to do is we're trying to duplicate this image here, where we've got from the home page or any of the pages, you'll be able to link to about the garden, projects, and join. And so that is the reason that we have those, and then we will deal with those more later on when we start adding hypertext and all of that. So for the main content, we're not going to put anything in there right now, but what we are going to do is we're going to put in a footer element. And again, what we're working on is those items that are going to be the same on all the pages. So I'm just going to do my name, and then email address. And there's a couple ways of doing email addresses. The easiest way for me to do that in Dreamweaver is to choose an email link, and it defaults to my my email address that the system knows. When that comes in Form follows function. It makes it a link, which is an anchor. So it gives me the anchor text, opening and closing, and then the property of that anchor is href equals mail to tharpk@uwstat.edu, which means that this is an email link. Refresh that. You'll see that it shows up over here as an email link. When you click on that from your browser, it will bring up your mail program and you'll be able to send me an email. That's all I'm going to put in there for right now. That completes the content that's going to be the same for all the pages and this lab or this case study.